Ernie, did they give you a different vehicle?
No, I swap it around. I've got stuff I've got to do on the tracks.
Okay, now that one's got fancy metal wheels.
Yeah.
I want to borrow that sometime.
You can't borrow it. We talked about
Well, if it's gone one day,
I
you know. I'll hear this later. I gotta hear it later.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Okay, I will go ahead and call to order the July meeting, the administrative meeting of the Plan Commission. So just a reminder to our guests, this is a public meeting, but not a public hearing. So we won't be taking public comment tonight, but if you would like to speak, you're welcome back at our meeting a week from tomorrow. So Jackie, welcome back. Would you like to call the rolls?
Sure. Bernie Garetas.
Here.
Jeff Morris. Here. Julie Thomas.
Here.
Cheryl Munson.
Here.
Dee Owens.
Here.
I do.
Edward Olman.
Yeah.
Mr. Pittsburgh.
Here.
Ronan Wright Randolph. And Margaret Clemens are not attending, and I don't believe the city representative Chris Cochran is here either. But we have 7 members and a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Jackie.
Yep.
So we have no administrative or unfinished business tonight, so we'll jump right into new business. So Sean, PUO 23-1 is yours.
This is an outline plan amendment, the second one to be exact, to the Whaley PUD. It's on a 12.34 acre parcel in the Van Buren Township, section 14. Staff is going to be recommending forwarding a positive recommendation. However, I think we had discussed it today that we would also be open to continuing this petition until we gather more information from the petitioner and the petitioner's representative, Daniel Butler. So kind of going into this, where we left off from Plan Review Committee, no recommendation was forwarded by the PRC, but they did leave some questions for staff. Namely, who filed for the outline plan amendment 1? What was the specific change? What is this stability of the sinkholes? Can they keep filling sinkholes? And then how much storage is being proposed? And then I also included in the packet as well staff's response to the petitioners. I want me to go over those or?
Yeah, I think if there are updates from peers.
Okay, so staff is currently awaiting a response from Daniel Butler and KNS, or the representative KNS Roloff. But specifically, we told them no more fill in the sinkhole conservancy areas and to possibly consider making that a written commitment. Tammy and I both have spoken with the MS4 coordinator, Kelsey Titonia, about this after the PRC meeting. And we also would like them to provide a definition for boat and RV storage and provide any conditions associated with that use. And that is because Monroe County does not have a definition for RV storage.
No, that's straight.
We also would like them to elaborate on the use of the sinkholes. So the MS4 coordinator would require sufficient stormwater management for anything of concern. So we would recommend that they leave the sinkholes as off limits for storage to not disturb them any further. And we've also asked them if they knew where the boat and RV storage will occur on the property, as there are concerns that fluids may leak into the sinkholes left untreated. So some responses for the PRC members, they posed some questions. So who filed for the outline plan amendment 1 in 1998? Staff confirmed that that was Donald Whaley, and that was the property owner and who the PUD is named after. Also, this is according to the letter that was submitted to staff on behalf of Donald Whaley by Michael Carmen. That's in Exhibit 3 of this report. Basically, the reasoning was that Whaley requested clarification from the Planning Commission members at the time. And specifically, the change was from the bullet point that's in red here. That was the original condition, and that language was replaced with the current 2 conditions that are just below that. But essentially, sinkhole areas were not to be disturbed at all, and if they wanted to change that, then they needed to file for an outline plan amendment in the future. So the sinkholes, according to item and the MS4 coordinator, remain stable, assuming that there's no more disturbance. So that's just as they are currently, and no more fill is to be permitted, and the MS4 coordinator indicated that she would like to make that a condition of approval if should this receive approval. And the stormwater division would not want to give approval for storing vehicles in a sinkhole due to the possible leakage and continued disturbance of the sinkholes itself. So staff does still need to see a location and a definition for the boat and RV storage so that the MS4 coordinator can do a thorough review of the plans. Does anyone have any questions thus far?
So did they agree to this till August? Or are you waiting to see it?
Vacations all got in the way, I think.
Okay,
I think people were strategically on vacation between this PRC meeting, and there was communication was not efficient.
yeah, so this might take on it is that we should get a continuation, and that would help us to formulate a better, I think, a better sinkhole plan. Because this is a PUD, I think we can ask for more than what we normally allow for. And so I know the drainage board has been working on a new sinkhole conservancy area, and it relates to how water flows on the property. Right, so that you aren't going to disturb or have fluids leaking where water will run into a sinkhole. It's not just over the sinkhole, but actually the tributaries that feed a sinkhole. So they're kind of looking at that. And so I don't know if we can find a way to incorporate some of those things. And I don't know that they're ready to do that, but I wish they were, because we haven't reviewed it yet at the stormwater board and we haven't reviewed it yet as commissioners. So it's still months away from getting finalized, but if they have good language, maybe this is a good place to insert it, and we can always go back and relax it if we need to, but maybe this is a good place to be stringent and careful. That's just my take. If I'm wrong, but sure.
I looked at several illustrations and one is a site condition map. And that is on page 11. And I don't know what is being mapped here, but there are some small rectangular areas in the two sinkholes. Bunches of them in the southernmost one.
Where
And-
there's storage.
And that, I thought that was like boat or RV storage. And are they currently storing in the sinkholes?
Dumpsters.
There's a roll off dumpster.
Yes, so
Roll up.
they're supposed to be clean or they're left out, which also helps prevent critters, but I don't know what condition they're stored in.
So, but that's an allowed use, is the storage of clean dumpsters. Roll off.
Kelsey and I talked about that quite a bit on Friday before we both left on vacation for last week. So there was concerns that like maybe if these are used for concrete washout stations, which are supposed to be dried and hardened, we're not sure if those are completely dried and hardened by the time I get there. So if they're dumping it, they might be putting, pH level that's not appropriate draining into that area. So we just don't know. And it would be hard for us to regulate it, I think, not knowing what exactly goes in the dumpster.
This is an active enforcement case.
Yeah.
So originally they were never supposed to disturb those
Those
areas.
Okay.
And so they're going through this process to amend their PUD so that they can be brought into compliance.
Yeah, I have a comment as well.
Go ahead, Dee.
Thank you. Having read this, the retaining the watershed release rates is really important for this particular area, especially since these sinkholes have been filled, because that for my drainage board time, I remember that that's a really delicate area in there. And the least that can be done is to keep the release rate of water down so that hopefully things won't, cave in or something. Just my comment.
It might be useful to look at the previous KNS petition, I think with Vernal Pike a few years back, where we had a discussion about how they were stored. Yeah, I think it's Vernal Pikes. Is it how roll-off or industrial, somewhere in that area, near West Side, just over 69. Yeah, there was something, it was KNS. So it might be helpful to look at what we did there. I can't remember much beyond that. And it was probably like 10 years ago, because I think it was 2 years ago. So don't take my dates for anything.
I scroll through this, like some of the documents showed only 2 sinkholes and some showed 3 sinkholes. Are we only worried about the 2 and the third one is still protected? Or?
So for sure, 2 of them, the one to the north and the one to the south have for sure been disturbed.
And that's evident in all the ortho images, but it's the third one's just,
Where's this third?
third one. This right here.
Oh, I couldn't see the, I
Yeah.
couldn't see the
And if you.
elevation,
I think
so I
on
couldn't see.
page,
Yeah.
um,
Oh my gosh, there's all kinds of, see it here.
on page 23, you can see them mapped. And that goes back to 98, same as page 22, the third one's mapped. But then like on page 38, there's
Yeah.
only 2 identified. I'm just trying to,
It is really a good question.
can only imagine that like they were just focusing on the ones that have been disturbed.
Okay,
I don't think that other area, because there's kind of a wall right there, like a retaining wall almost. And there was no disturbance. Staff wasn't concerned because our aerial review never showed any impact to that area. And so I just think that the geosurvey was not included in that one
Now I see.
for that reason.
It's
Good question. And I just think with those ridges in there, if you look at the slope map, right, you can see the ridges, the ridge that runs through there, right?
yeah,
That to me is one of those things that's indicative of how the water's running, and we really need,
well,
Stormwater
and that's part of why I won't even pretend to be a stormwater engineer or a geologist or anything of the nature. But my thought is that if there, two of them have been filled, and there is a third one present that isn't filled, where is all the runoff off of that giant gravel pad going? And is that gonna create a greater potential of the two that haven't filled to have pavements or anything of the nature, because you're funneling that much more into one?
My impression from the drainage board meeting was that, and from the geo report that's in the packet, was that it was, don't add any more fill. But if there's a large storm event, it's not gonna impact the property to the west at this point. This is why staff is supporting the petition to leave it there, not add anything else to it. Like, it's almost would maybe, I don't know if it would be more damaging, but the magnitude of to remediate this site to bring it back to where it was is
worse.
it's a lot. The amount of fossil fuels you would use to transport that and load it up, it's almost at this point, leave it here, add nothing more to it, or else you might start impacting the property to the west. That's what I understand was how the drainage board was kind of interpreting it.
Some of the property to the west grades into those two. Well, the sinkhole shed.
Those contour lines on there have changed a bit, I
Oh,
would say.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they're not exactly the same as they once were, so I don't know exactly what that is, but I know that there are concerns that if they kept the lane,
It would
it
change.
would top over and start.
The status of the enforcement,
They're here, they're complying.
that's what I thought this was, so. This will take care of the enforcement action. Whatever we did.
If there's conditions of approval,
But I mean, that, I guess the shorter version, that's, this petition addresses the reason for the enforcement action, and both will resolve at the same time.
yeah.
I just wanted to be clear on that. I think
Mhm.
that's important.
I mean, originally they wanted convenient storage added, which is not, it is a permitted use. But they're not gonna seek that any longer. I think finances are going towards the remedy at this point. And now they're instead thinking of doing the boat and RV storage, which does need to be added to the outline plans.
Okay, and you mentioned conditions, and I know this is something we can take up at the regular meetings, but. Do we need as a condition of approval demarcation of those areas not to be disturbed signage?
And this is their, essentially, this is their second request to change the do not disturb line, if you will. Because they originally did that in 1998 to change and make it more, allow more disturbance. And now they're back again because they disturbed again. So I don't know.
Well, my point being is this property is gonna change hands again at some time. You know, and given the fact that. They're probably not gonna get everything they want, they're probably already shopping for another property. So my inclination, and I understand signage is only good to the extent that people respect the signage. But I feel like that maybe a condition of approval would be the requirement of set markers with, you know, some sort of permanence of signage. Maybe even something carved in stone.
in some of those cement washout blocks that shouldn't there.
I mean, the natural flow of traffic right now. You can see where they kind of, from the south, kind of loop down in there. I mean, there could be uses for that concrete pad that then the drainage board would oversee to make sure it's not impacting drainage
Well,
negatively.
I'm just concerned about.
But I thought her
remains of
saying
the sinkhole.
maybe marking that off and like making it completely off limits and. I'm not sure.
I don't know that that's necessary. I'm talking about along the still existent rim of the sinkhole. You know, so that no more disturbance in those two areas occurs any further.
And so their parking lot gonna get bigger.
Right.
It's actually three areas.
Like I said, I'm not so much concerned about where the concrete pad is. I get that that's, you know, a potential issue for runoff and all that stuff. I am talking specifically about this area and this area.
Can you show D that on the screen?
Yeah, sorry, Dee.
D, yeah, so D.
So sort of perimeter marker.
This area and then also to the north.
You know, it could be a conservation easement. Which can have signage, but it also means you can't develop anything, right? So
I think that,
and since it's a PUD, we're writing the ordinance, so we can say. We're calling it
Right.
whatever, you know.
So I mean, if staff would kind of think about if that's warranted, and if it is warranted, what are our best means for protecting what remains of those sinkholes? Because if it would start to subside again, there's a possibility that some later owner would say, hey, when I bought this, this was like this, and now it's like this. And I'm gonna throw some more stuff in there because it was already in there. And my limited experience with karst topography is that it's not static.
So are you?
Yeah, that's my worry
suggesting like two motions on this, one to allow the existence of the fill, but no more, and then two to prevent any uses from happening on each of those filled areas?
Right.
Okay, so that just stop what you're doing, stop disturbing it, let it be, put in signage, stakes, and don't use it.
Right.
but what about the third sinkhole? That's not filled.
Like, don't touch it, don't fill it, basically. They wanna keep the fill and add uses to those specific areas.
We don't know what use they want to do in that area.
Yeah,
They've not responded.
if it's anything with fluid leaking, if it's anything with rinsing out roll-off dumpsters, I mean, that's a whole level of, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd really like Kelsey to take a really close look at this and apply the most stringent possible.
It's, yeah.
And
There's uses proposed and they have maybe more of a site design. She takes a deeper dive into that. But
Yeah.
we had, I felt confident that like, if something was proposed there, she would require a lot.
Yeah,
So,
but at the same time, it seems like this might be a good time to apply some general.
yeah, when we discussed this in PRC, I even brought up as a reference the Furrows parking lot, which is now the Mexican restaurant over on Liberty, is El Ranchero. That parking lot subsided under the asphalt in several places. And as part of that same karst formation, that is a complex karst formation. And I imagine that what we're looking at here is in some way connected to that same karst all the way through
The
there.
airport runway.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's an even grander example.
It's all right there. It's
Right.
all right there. This is
So-
the watershed.
What I'm driving at is I felt like a conclusion had been made that this is now a stable filled sinkhole, and I think that's beyond presumptuous based on experience.
Is there some remediation? Is that your question?
But I don't know that remediation is the idea, because that was kind of said no, but I don't want it to sink and somebody say, oh, well, now we can throw some more crap in.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I want to lock it down as it is right now. Because I think if it subsides, then you just live with it as it subsides. We had this same issue down in the lake watershed where they had done infill to facilitate parking of RVs. And they'd used a lot of organic materials. And the conclusion was, number one, it was pulling stuff back uphill is not going to work. And number two, though, was the concern that as the organic materials decayed, that there might be some slide off. So it was all demarcated that it was not to be used. Now, this is a different scenario, but the probability of it continuing to move can't be ignored.
Any questions or comments for Sean? You all for the good conversation. So moving on, Daniel, to the next case, PC-23-2.
Sean, you're gonna just put this on the August. We
We'll
will not
just have
have
it
it at the regular
continued.
meeting.
Yep.
All right, so this is a proposed rezone. The designer was originally proposing to amend the zoning map so that a 1.05 acre portion of the property was rezoned from agricultural rural reserve to medium density residential. However, after the plan review committee meeting, the petitioner made an addition to the proposal requesting that a sliver of the subject parcel measuring it as an estimated 0.09 acres also be rezoned to limited business, so that it may be added to the LB parcel directly to the north. Newly proposed 0.96 acre MR lot would satisfy all lot and building requirements for checklist in Chapter 804 for MR zoning. And the remaining sliver, again, would be transferred to the adjacent property through a subdivision status. This is shown particularly in Exhibit 3, and Exhibit 4 shows a comparison of the original and the new plan. So the petition site contains a wooden structure, a single family residential home constructed in 1999 according to GIS Elevate. Known for this is a historical property. In fact, to be perfectly frank, the more I see that date, the more I think it's some kind of placeholder when it was built. And this is along with a 720 square foot car shed that has a demolition permit on file. The remaining part of the lot is used for agricultural purposes, which is the crux of this free zone, I would say. The intention is for the AgR lot directly north of the petition site to absorb the portions of the lot that's used for agricultural land and let these portion that has a home and car shed stand on its own. And here's just the location of the property. The surrounding zoning. The comprehensive plan. And the site conditions. As you can see, it's fairly flat, panoramic view. This is the home in question. Front lawn. Photo of the field as well as a site where a structure was removed. This is the existing car shed, the rear of the property. Did we want to go through the comprehensive plan discussion?
Just go to the PRC. David.
It did.
Then I think you had a discussion about it, PRC, then you can skip that part.
Okay. Here's the letter from the petitioner. And here's the old arrangement of the lots. Compared with the new one, as you can see, there is a section here that is going to be added to the lot right here.
Daniel, did they say the purpose of it? They wanted to create a lot size that, is there some sort of purpose to this letter?
They may have, but I don't directly recall.
I can share that with you. It's a veterinarian clinic. And if that part remains with the house and his patients visit there to do their business, it would be on the neighboring property. So by including it with his property, it's the business is staying on this limited business lot. But it
Yeah.
also gives them a driveway access back there too, along that property, which I think is a grand idea.
Dee, I see that you have your hand up also.
Thank you. Yeah, it strikes me as this is just doing a little cleanup to make these properties more clear. Right? I mean, it's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, was your pun intended?
Clean up.
Hey, whatever.
This is part of the Stanger baby farms where they used to grow babies.
That's such a funny.
Right, and the other exhibits are just lists of uses within the respective zones that are involved in this petition. And I will open this up to any questions.
Commissioners here.
Yes, the petitioner is present in the room.
That was one approval, right?
Yes. The staff does recommend a positive recommendation to county commissioners based on the petition's compatibility with the comprehensive plan. With a condition of approval saying that the petitioner must submit appropriate subdivision applications to demonstrate the 1.05 acre portions rezoned to LB and MR as separate lots of record.
Questions for Daniel?
Really good. If there's something else.
I was just gonna ask about subdivision, it's already answered.
Yeah.
Thanks for filling in the next few minutes and whatever.
But I did hand it back over to John, just gotta say.
Goodbye, some ground with enough.
Yay.
And we should go down through there. Those houses really nice.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.